Hello everyone, in this video we're going to explore some of the other features of the Janus Astrology program, especially if you're taking my natal course or you're doing other traditional things with Janus. We'll look at 5 things: the ephemeris, fixed stars, the traditional module, the electional module, and a special globe feature that allows you to see the world from the outside and look at the celestial globe. So let's start with the ephemeris. And of course, the ephemeris is the list of planetary positions on a regular basis, usually day by day. So let's go under the predictive tab at the top, go down to ephemeris and choose grid. And this box allows us to choose the settings we want for the display of the planetary positions. At the top in the middle we have calculate and stop. This is what you'll use to generate the list or stop the list midway if you've already gotten what you want. And just below it we have a number of tabs. We have first the time frame. We're going to do a month of planetary positions starting on this day, August 27th, 2021, and we're going to start it at midnight. Janus is nice because you can tell it whatever during the day you want to measure the planetary positions, but it is more common to use midnight. So we're going to choose midnight, and we're going to choose 1 month. Actually, we need to choose, since we're doing AM and PM, we want to choose 12 AM. We're going to, the time frame for the whole ephemeris will just be for 1 month, so we'll choose 1 month. And the step size is how often you want to calculate the positions for. Usually you want to do it for every day, but for some fine-tuned thing like the position of the moon, maybe you want to calculate it for every hour or every minute. If you're doing an ephemeris involving the superior planets or slow-moving planets, you might want to choose a week, because they move so slowly you're not going to get much of a big difference day by day. So if you chose weeks, you would have a weekly calculation of the position. But we'll choose days. And the zone we're choosing this for is Greenwich. That's universal time. Now let's choose the planets that we want. And we want to select the planets. And here we have our list of planets. Let's just choose all of the traditional planets. You can see we could have chosen much more, but we're just going to use the traditional planets, and we'll choose OK. Under the Include tab, this is where we get to include what we actually see on the table. We want to see the clock time. You might want to see the day of the week. In fact, let's do that. Sidereal time, that is used for chart calculation and other things. The main thing we want to know is the longitude of the planets, where in the zodiac they are. But we could choose how fast they're going, their latitude, equatorial positions. There's all sorts of things here that we might choose. But the more things that you choose, the more complicated the table will be, and it will take longer to generate. So let's just choose those things. And for location, I think it defaults to nothing. The location doesn't really matter because we're measuring everything from Greenwich. You can see there's some other things that we could choose depending upon what you're doing with your chart. We're just going to do it straightforwardly, and we're going to use degrees, minutes, and seconds, but we could round this out. So now that we know what planets we want, how long, and the number of days, we'll click Calculate. And I will enlarge this. And it takes a little while to generate, but you will see that very soon we will have a month of positions. beginning with August 27th, 2021. And let's scroll up. The universal time is 0. The day is Friday. The sidereal time is 22:21:48. And then for each of the 7 planets, it gives you its longitude in the zodiac. And when they're gray, that means they're retrograde. So during that time, both Saturn and Jupiter are retrograde. And what you can do if you right-click is you can print this. You can also copy and paste it into another document. So that can be very handy as well. And that is how you use the ephemeris. Now let's look at fixed stars. If we go up to View, we can go down to Star Table. And this gives us a table of fixed stars with a lot of their positions. Most of this you wouldn't need for traditional purposes, but it tells you what the common name of the star is, the scientific name. This must be some scientific designation of what kind of star it is in scientific terms. Color, temperature, its magnitude. This can be important. The larger the number, the dimmer it is. So the smaller the number, the brighter it is in the heavens. Then it gives you longitude and latitude in the zodiac, right ascension and declination, that's equatorial positions, azimuth and altitude, we'll learn about those, and for this location, at what time it rises in the east, culminates, and sets. And if we spread it out, you can see there's other things too, including their planetary natures, which it looks like they probably come from Ptolemy. Now, you can change the font size here into something bigger, and you can also sort them. So right now they're sorted by longitude, starting at 2 Aries and going through the zodiac in order, but we could organize them by anything else, including their common name. So if we do that, then they're organized by their normal names, starting with Achernar and going all the way down to probably Zubna or Zurak. We can also change the format of degrees or hours, minutes, and seconds. But that is your star table. And we will learn more about what these positions mean and how to use them properly in the course. And that is how you use how you find the fixed stars. Next, let's look at the traditional module. And you can go to it by finding this icon up here, this little square with multicolors, and it says traditional chart. That's going to take this current chart and cast it in a traditional square way. So let's maximize that. And let's see if we can get rid of these colors. If we go to wheel style, we can, let's see. Yeah, if we go under the screen wheel tab, we can get rid of color and shading. As you know from my other videos, I prefer everything without color in them. I just think it looks cleaner and nicer. So we'll do that. Now, in this, you can see a square chart. Because the chart is in whole signs, these little lines that show the cusps are the beginnings and ends of the signs, and they have little numbers in them to show you which signs or houses that they are. And in the up at the top, there's a settings feature where you can choose certain settings like we did on the main screen. You can also look at these buttons. You can add and subtract buttons here. Let's look at a few of them. The general button gives you some general information about the chart, such as the chart is diurnal. It gives you the planetary day and hour. There are other things that you might or might not use. We have some information about planetary phases. One thing you'll eventually want to find is this, the SAN. That is the new or full moon that was most recently before the nativity. And you can see here in the chart, the sun is in Virgo and the moon is in Taurus. So the moon is waning and is going towards the sun. That means that most recently, a few days ago, there was a full moon. And this tells you where exactly that exact full moon was. It was at 29 Aquarius. So right around here where my cursor is at the end of Aquarius. So that's something to notice. There's a whole number of other things here that you might or might not want to use, but that is the general tab. And you can change things like color and glyphs. Then let's look at the dignity table. The dignity table tells you for each planet what house it's in and who rules the place where it is. So for example, the sun is in Virgo. So the Lord of Virgo is Mercury. The exalted Lord of Virgo is Mercury. The diurnal triplicity Lord, because it's a day chart, is Venus, and so on. And it also gives you, for some planets, things like, are they Eastern or Oriental or Occidental? That means Western. If they're under the rays of the sun, that's USB. And they have a Victor calculation, which we'll learn about later. One thing I should mention is under settings. If you go under settings and look under this tab called parameters, that allows you to choose what parameters we're using in a traditional chart, such as the zodiac system. We're using a tropical zodiac. We're going to use traditional sign rulers. For triplicity lords, we're using Dorotheus. Egyptian terms or bounds, Chaldean decans, and there's some other things too. Again, you want to make sure that for your lot of fortune, the POF, part of fortune, you want to make sure that you're using different calculations by day and night. Don't use the Lily calculation. And then we also have a choice of Ferdaria systems and our house system. And this happens to be whole signs. We could change it to something else if we want. Now under the Arabic parts or lots button, if you click it, you'll see that it automatically calculates a whole bunch of lots for you. You can see there's way more than you could ever use or ever figure out. One thing to be careful about with these lots in all programs is you don't always know how they are calculated. Different lots are calculated in different ways by different authors. Something like the lot of fortune is pretty easy. There's either the Lily calculation, which only calculates the same way by day and night. We are going to use the other one. But some of these others, it depends on what author that you read. For example, for the lot of brothers, for example, some authors reverse the calculation by night and others don't. So when you use this table, don't just assume the table is correct. Make sure that you know which calculation that you're using. And in the lesson on lots, we will learn how to calculate quickly in our head where the lot is so that you can verify some of this. Lastly, let's look at the Ferdaria tab or button. And that calculates the Ferdaria, which is a Time Lord system, it shows you at what ages and in what years and on what days the Time Lordship changes planets. Use the Al-Biruni setting, not the Bonatti setting. We're going to follow Abu Mashar and Al-Andarzaghar by saying that the nodes come at the very end by both day and night. So use the Al-Biruni setting. Finally, if you look over on the right, you can see that there are some features that will also be in the electional module. You can change the date of the chart. You can also use these buttons to advance the chart by a day, month, year, hour, minute, and second. You can play with the location. You can also animate the chart and tell it how fast to animate it. If you also are in this module and you want to get a chart from somewhere, you can click Get Chart, and it will allow you to search through your files of charts to find something and open it up in this screen. And that is those are the basics of the traditional module. Now let's go to the electional module, which is similar. This button here that looks like a little calendar is what you want to pick. And you can see it creates a chart for the time that it is right now. And like in the a traditional module, you can alter the date and time for what you want. So you can advance the chart a little bit forwards and backwards. We will use this when we look at and demonstrate ascensional times. And this also allows you to click Settings and choose your parameters so that you can choose whatever kind of parameters you want for the dignities and the zodiac and that sort of thing. And that's the electional module. Finally, let's look at the sky map. So we're going to go under View, Maps, Sky Map. This is a really amazing feature of Janus. This allows you to look at the heavens, or look at the Earth, from the outside, and it allows you to tell the computer which reference frame you want to use, whether it's the zodiacal or the local horizon or the equatorial. In this case, we're looking at the Earth from the outside as though we're standing on the eastern horizon. You can see up in the upper right, I've chosen horizon as the reference frame. We can choose color or not. We can keep it black and white. Again, I usually find that easier to look at. We can decide to make the background white if we want. That will make all of the divisions of the heavens black. There's other things we can do too. Change the date, we can animate it, and then once we know what kind of reference frame we want, we can use these buttons and these sliding buttons to rotate. You can see we can rotate the Earth in all sorts of directions, three-dimensionally. And you see as we rotate it, we can see the zodiac with the planets in it, and we can see the spaces for constellations. We can choose, if we choose display, we can decide what we want to actually see. We can choose the stars we want to see, and so on. This has a number of uses that we'll explore in a later lesson. And those are some of the basic features of using Janus. In another video, I will show you how to do some of the predictive techniques and where they can be found.